Alright, what's up, gamers, and welcome to the FDL Season 3. We're going to be doing a little bit of a draft analysis with myself, Colin, and Conix is my co-host here. Would you like to introduce
Hello.
yourself?
Yeah, I'm Conix. I've been around for a while in the Draft League sphere. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm sure he'll link it down below.
I will.
And let's just jump right into it.
Alright, so first up, we've got Drippon, and this is just me in order of how we drafted it.
This is a draft order.
Yeah. There's no particular, it's just random for this, but yeah, so this is coached by Ducky, and it's a pretty solid team, all things considered. Pretty well
Yeah.
balanced, and Gouging Fire is crazy good. It can Gambit to deter Intimidate. Works quite nicely together.
Yeah. At first, you see Gouging Fire and King Gambit in the A tier, and you notice that they both have sort of a ground weakness. But Ducky, I definitely recognized that and drafted, Tornadus Therian, Gliscor, Ogerpon Wellspring just deal really well with ground types. Samurott too. And then, Jolteon and Arbok, they also have a ground weakness, but they're not coming every week probably. But I do think Ducky has some great D and F tiers, which a lot of the other teams struggled getting. This is a team with 11 Pokemon on it, and I think that really helps it a lot.
Yep, and obviously every team will technically have 11 Pokemon, but when we say that, it's like 11 Pokemon that you could conceivably bring, rather than just 11.
Because some teams will just only ever bring their S through Cs, which is not bad if you have good S through Cs, but it could be better if basically the more stuff your opponent has to prepare for, they'll have to spread their resources thin, and then they won't be as prepared to deal with your high up Pokemon.
Yep.
And there's some teams that just have meme picks as their F tiers, which is it's fun, but objectively it does make your team worse by not having something that provides some sort of utility down there.
Indeed.
This team does, it's got Tailwind, it's got Trick Room, it's got Taunt, it's got Fake Out, it's got just about all the tools that you need. A lot of good type variety. I think this is a really solid team. It's Balance, which I think Ducky plays very well. As I'll get to that in a moment when we get to my team. But I just think it's really solid. I don't see any huge flaws to if I was prepping against this team, I don't see anything that I would exploit except for maybe that slight ground weakness. But then again, there's immunities, there's counterplay to it.
Yeah, there's the ground weakness, and also I would say you throw up a Reflect, and this team gets a lot less scary. It is very physical, and while King Gambit is there to deter Intimidate. You probably still bring it. You probably still bring your Intimidate. You bring Reflect. You use Charm, whatever it is. You you have ways, because there's not really a lot of special attackers. You have Tornadus and Jolteon. That's it. And
Tornadus could even go physical too.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't get a good physical flying move, but they could go mixed.
So generally, you can train pretty heavily in defense, and you're not going to be that heavily punished for it. Because even with Jolteon, as a exclusively special attacker, it doesn't have a super high special attack on its own. So.
And it doesn't get much move variety either. If your physical attacker, if you have a ground type, right? Like we said, you probably will be bringing your ground type to this, despite that Ogerpon. Jolteon just can't touch it. They'd have to go Terra Ice or Terra Water. Terra Water could be okay, but Terra Ice just makes it really weird defensively, because Jolteon doesn't already have good defenses, and then Terra into a type that has no resists. That's pretty bad. But Ogerpon Follow Me is pretty interesting, because there is some setup on this team as well. There's Dragon Dance, Gouging Fire, Swords Dance, King Gambit. There's the option of Belly Drum, Hariyama. I think Samurott gets Swords Dance, Gliscor gets Swords Dance. Arbok may or may not. Who does? Ogerpon, Ogerpon does too.
Mimikyu and Ogerpon itself. And Arbok gets Coil.
I think it gets... Does it get Dragon Dance? No. Yeah, but it does get Coil. But I don't think you'll be setting up Arbok. I think you're mostly using it to switch in Intimidate and Glare, which is pretty fun. You do have to, respect it. And it also deals with Fairy types. Even though the team isn't super Fairy weak, Gouging Fire doesn't like attacking into them, and King Gambit, it's got Steel type moves, but the Dark type doesn't really appreciate Fairies switching in.
Indeed.
You've got all the sort of types that you want. You've got a ground type. Every team sort of wants a ground type. Every team wants a steel type. Every team really wants a water type. And then you want some sort of ground immunity. This team kind of has all... It just hits all the types that you want it to have. And it's got all the utility. I think it's solid.
Yep. All right. Next up, we got your team, Carolina Cyclizar.
Yep. This is, I believe, the first time outside of the multi-battle league that I've drafted balance. Because I think every other team I've gotten has been some form of hyper offense. Last season, I got Mousehold Annihilate, which I think my biggest flaw that season, because I didn't do particularly well that season, my biggest flaw was that I drafted a team that should have been played as balanced, but I played it too much like hyper offense. So this season, I'm going to definitely have to make sure that I try and play this team effectively and play balance. And like I said, Ducky's team is balanced, and Ducky is very accustomed to playing balance, whereas I am not. I think Ducky is definitely a better balance player than me. So I will have to... Yeah, I think my team comes down to how I play it. I think I can win just about any matchup if I play correctly, and that's really everything. If I lose, it comes down to me misplaying or misbuilding. But we can go over the team. I got Incineroar as my S tier. Then I actually skipped both of my A tiers, and I just went straight to B tiers. I got Iron Treads, and I had Gastrodon, which I then traded for Articuno later on. And then I got Serena and Kilowattrel, Haxorus, and Espeon, Dugong, Riolu. And then I went back and got Grimmsnarl as my last pick, and then I traded another player for Palafin. This is pretty much everything I wanted, with one exception being I really wanted Florges in D tier instead of Espeon.
Spring, I know you're gonna be watching this. You got to trade it. It's not really going on your team at all. We'll see. I think you should. It should really be. You should really get something else.
All jokes aside, Spring did message me about changing up his team. So who knows what could happen in the next couple days after this video comes out. But I think just like Ducky's team, I think my team has sort of all the tools that a good team should have. I've got Fake Out. I've got Taunt. I always forget to get Taunt. And you told me this yesterday. You're like, it just happens that all the Pokemon you like just don't learn Taunt. But I've got Grimmsnarl, which is like premier Taunter.
Serena also.
I think Palafin gets Taunt, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. I believe.
Because I think that's the set that got it banned to Ubers. Yeah, it was Taunt, Bulk Up, Wave Crash, Drain Punch was the set that got it banned in singles. Haxorus probably gets Taunt. Incineroar definitely gets Taunt, actually. Because it's like, I look at my team and I'm like, oh, I don't actually have Fake Out. I don't have, like, Taunt. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, Incineroar and Grimmsnarl just both do those things. But they're just right at the top. Because usually my top Pokemon doesn't have utility. Usually my top Pokemon is an offensive Pokemon. But this time I actually have all the utility in my, like, two best Pokemon, which is really good. Serena helps stop priority for this team, which my team's not really even weak to priority. It's really just Kilowattrel and Espeon are pretty frail, and Serena helps both of them. I've got screens to be even bulkier. This team looks really hard to kill behind screens, aside from Kilowattrel and Espeon. And I guess Riolu too, but I wouldn't bring Riolu and Grimmsnarl to a game. Articuno, Elm said that Articuno is the glue that fits this team together. Like, it didn't look amazing until I wavered for Articuno right at the end, and that, because my team is so physical, Articuno and Kilowattrel as well to an extent deter Intimidate versus it, which, like, it's not enough to prevent my opponents from bringing Intimidate, I don't think, because everything else is physical, but it means that I can actually, if I play correctly, I can get a huge, like, bonus from my opponents bringing Intimidate to this incredibly physical team. My biggest weakness, I think, is the fact that you only really have to set Reflect for this team, and then if you have a Dark type, you're fine, because, like, my special attackers are Articuno and Espeon, and they share a type. But if I could get a Florges in that Espeon slot, I think that is just, like, perfect. But yeah. What else have I not talked about? Kilowattrel. Initially, that was supposed to be a Zapdos or a Thundurus Incarnate up in A tier instead of Grimmsnarl. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? They don't, like, Prankster's a good ability, but Zapdos doesn't really have an ability. So I could even drop it down to a B tier and then get a Thundurus Therian, which has Volt Absorb. And then I'm like, wait, if I'm going to drop it down to Thundurus Therian, why don't I just get Kilowattrel, which also has Volt Absorb, but it also can have Competitive or Wind Rider, which are three really good abilities. So I went from having an A tier electric flying type all the way to a C tier one, and I genuinely think it's maybe not better than Zapdos, because I ended up going screens, and Zapdos would have been better with screens. But it's my fastest Pokemon, I think, outside of Booster Treads. But yeah, Dugong provides, Fake Out, Encore, I think Freeze Dry, but Flip Turn is a big one. This team has, I think Elm said 7 Pivoters, because Incineroar and Grimmsnarl both get... Incineroar and Grimmsnarl both get Parting Shot, Palafin has Flip Turn, Iron Treads has Volt Switch, Killwatcher has Volt Switch, Serena has U-Turn.
Serena has U-Turn.
And then, Dugong has Flip Turn. So that's 7 Pivoters. It's going to be very hard. I think I'm very happy with this team. I think it doesn't have any auto win matchups and it doesn't have any auto lose matchups. I think it all comes down to
baton pass as well.
Oh, that's really funny. Or Riolu could just die.
That's true.
Then I get Palafin in. Sack the Shitmon to bring in Palafin.
So true.
And then Riolu, I didn't get to mention. I don't expect to bring it very often, but it does have Prankster coaching, which all my Pokemon are physical, and they all appreciate a defense boost. And it also has Prankster Weather, which I could theoretically use, into one of the Sun teams, because there's 2 Sun teams. There's also there's no Sand team. And you have a Rain team, so I could use it into your Rain team to set Sun. And I could also use it to boost up Palafin's Jet Punch in the Rain, or Kilowattrel's Thunder, or Incineroar's Flare Blitz in the Sun.
There is also a Snow team as well, but I think that...
Is there? There is a Snow team, yeah.
The Snow mode is a little suspect.
Yeah, it's all like D and F tier Snow mode. But I think Ninetales is good on... Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about my team? Because I kind of hit everything that I wanted to say.
I don't think so. I mean, you got overall good Pokemon except for Riolu, but that's just it's a shout out. It's real ones who've been watching for a while. They know that Riolu is actually the
have you shown your draft for the other league?
I have not yet.
Okay, well, you should show that at the end, because we literally theory crafted this team together, and then you took basically a variant of this team to your other league, and then I took the one for this league. So it's really cool that it's basically the same team that we kind of both adapted to our own sort of play styles, and like ones that we like.
But yes.
All right.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
All right.
Oh, wait, actually, yeah, we gotta talk about Riolu's extra secret ability. Where
so
it actually
Riolu has
his ability, which is basically just Storm Drain, but for Fake Out. It's really crazy.
Yep.
If you have something you don't want to get faked out, just leave it next to Riolu, and Riolu will always get faked out. It's just how it goes.
Yep, it's so true. Wait, does Riolu get Helping Hand?
I don't know.
It does, so I can technically Helping Hand before the fake out comes.
True.
Or one week I run Inner Focus Riolu so that I can get a coaching off even though I'm being faked out.
Okay, next up, there's no more of that. Next up, we got Frigid Room.
This team, to be honest, it was completely randomly drafted except for Clefairy and Dragapult because Oryx couldn't make it to the draft. Oh yeah, Blissey too. But it's definitely better than it was completely randomly. It has a huge Ghost and Dark weakness, like absurdly big, because you've got Dragapult, Iron Boulder, Dusclops, and Delphox and Grumpig, and then nothing to resist. Like, I guess Ghost is resisted by, or immune by Blissey, and Dark is resisted by Clefairy, but
and Muck.
Like
Oh
yeah, and Muck too. So I guess Ghost is fine because Blissey doesn't really exert any sort of presence in VGC. If it got Trick Room, that would be fun, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean this team is like kind of bad, but it's not Oryx's fault. Well, it is.
No, it's not.
He simply shouldn't have had a job.
There.
Should not have been working, in my opinion. Should have just called out IMO.
Calling sick.
But no.
I feel like, because let's see, what were the 3 waivers? It was Milotic, Delphox, and Muck, right? Yeah. I feel like there was probably a different fire type in D tier that wasn't weak to Dark and Ghost. I feel like you could have got Pyroar there, maybe. If that's even D tier, it might be F.
It's F tier.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, there's decent type variety. It really is just very Ghost and Psychic heavy on the team. But then again, Delphox and Grumpig are both pretty low tiers, so like they're not always coming. But like we said last night, not in the recording, it just having low tiers also weak to your common weaknesses. It just means that there's less opportunity cost of just teching, a Shadow Ball or a Dark Pulse onto one of your good Pokemon because like, it's good even into the low tiers if they happen to bring them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's okay. It's got good speed. It has Dusclops too. Does Dusclops get Imprison actually? Because that could be a good use of it. Because at first I'm like, what is it doing? But if it can, it can Imprison Trick Room, and then you'd have a hard time removing it. So that actually does help the fast Dragapult and Iron Boulder. Even though this team doesn't really like Trick Room up itself, deterring it is very good with these speed tiers.
Yep.
Lilligant, unfortunately, doesn't do much without Sun, but it's a Grass type, and there's a Grass, Fire, Water core. You can't really complain too much. Yeah, it does get Sleep Powder. It's got Quiver Dance too. And you do have Redirection with Clefairy, so you can technically set up with it.
I think actually, over the Delphox, I might have liked Oricorio Fire, honestly.
Yeah. I think that would have been pretty good, because the team's also decently ground weak. Because you've got Delphox now, you've got Muck, you've got Raichu, and Iron Boulder, and nothing to resist it except Lilligant. And even Blissey, because most ground moves are physical, which are going to hit Blissey very hard.
Yep.
Yeah, I do actually think Oricorio is pretty nice here. Although Lilligant Oricorio is not, like, you don't really want to be leading with your C and D tiers, but it gives you another mode.
But, yeah, I mean, teams...
Overall, I think Oryx managed to pull it together decently with what he had to work with. It's definitely better than it was, but it's not as good as it could be if they were all picked, But Oryx is also a very creative team builder, so I'm sure he'll come up with some very fun sets with these Pokemon that I just am not able to see, because they do get a lot of cool tools, but I'm not sure. We'll see.
Also, something just notable, Oryx had never used Iron Boulder before and did not even know his Psychic type, which
is true.
It's one of the
we were talking in the Discord last night about like, oh yeah, your team is really Ghost and Dark Weak. He's like, wait, why? And we're like, Iron Boulder's Psychic type. He's like, what? It was funny.
But yes. Alright, next up, we got Nen with the Lynchburg Littens. And I think this team is really good.
I do too. Well, I mean, we both helped him, decide what to pick, because he's our friend. Basically, since he got 4th pick, I'm just like, I'll tell you what I'm gonna take, and then you just get top 3 Pokemon that you want, and then you get one of your top 3 picks, pretty much. So, and then Oryx didn't even end up drafting, because Oryx was late for the first little bit of the draft. So then Nen just got Urshifu Single Strike, which I suggested, because I'm like, if you're gonna take Urshifu in draft, I would take the Single Strike one, because first of all, Dark types are really fun, specifically on physical attackers, because you can't be Prankster. You can't be Prankster Will-O-Wisp, Prankster Charm, Prankster Thunderwave. Even though nobody ended up taking Sableye or Klefki, so that's a little bit worse. But there is Illumise somewhere here, so you can't be Prankster Charmed. Not that Urshifu really cares that much about it, because
I guess Volbeat doesn't have Charm, but...
No, Volbeat doesn't have Charm. Volbeat gets Swagger, which actually Urshifu wouldn't mind getting Swaggered, probably. But another thing about Single Strike is that Single Strike is going to try and force your opponents to Terra Fairy. If they're going to defensively Terra, it's going to be Fairy. Whereas Rapid Strike, they could go Ghost, they could go Dragon, they could go Water or Grass. But this would force his Fairy, which then we capitalized on by putting Metagross and Toxtricity on the team to basically take advantage of, they're going to have some defensive Terra Fairies on the team. Let's put a Poison type and a Steel type on there. Then we got Volcarona for some redirection, and also for Tailwind, and also to be offensive with Quiver Dance. So it's a great Pokemon to draft it, and it can do a lot of different things very well. Urshifu does get Swords Dance now, so that could be something fun to do. Set up a Swords Dance while you redirect with Volcarona. Regieleki on the team is a very good pick because, it's not a high priority target, so he was able to wait like 4 or 5 rounds before getting it to guarantee the Metagross and the Gyarados and the Volcarona, and then go back and get Regieleki. Provides good speed control with how fast it is with Electroweb. And it also hits pretty hard because you can go Modest every week pretty much, because I think even Modest you're faster than Dragapult, which is the next fastest thing since Electro didn't get drafted.
believe so.
Then Metagross, and like the thing about this team is that you've got a lot of physical mons, but none of them care about Intimidate that much because Metagross has Clear Body, Urshifu's always critting. Gyarados does, but that's okay because I imagine it's going to play more of a support role most weeks, but it could sweep too.
Technically, Superior can go physical, and it'll benefit from Intimidate.
You get a boost. Yeah. And Zoroark is pretty fun on this team because you can disguise it as Metagross and be immune to Ghost. You can disguise it as Urshifu and be immune to Fighting. It's not like amazing on this team in particular, but it's just a really good Pokemon, and it makes team building really hard because you never know which Pokemon the Zoroark is. And then always Volcarona and Oricorio are fun together. And then there technically also is a Perish Trap mode, maybe the worst Perish Trap mode ever conceived by humans, with Dugtrio and Wigglytuff. And if you remember we actually picked those two in, this wasn't on any YouTube video, but this was when we played Multi-Battle League. We had Dugtrio and Wigglytuff as our, I think, D tiers at the time, which was really funny.
Yeah. We ended up getting rid of Wigglytuff because it's really bad, unfortunately.
It was horrible.
The only good thing about it is that it's a Gen 1 mon, so it has the crazy move pool.
Well, it has competitive too, but the thing is, this team isn't, because that's why we took it. We took it because we had a primarily physical team at the time. This team isn't even that weak to Intimidate, but I think Nen just wanted a Fairy type, and I think Wigglytuff was one of the 2 Fairy types in F tier aside from Carbink, and I do think Wigglytuff is better than Carbink.
Yeah, that's not really saying much. But yeah,
no, it's not. It's like saying you're better than like a rock that just sits on the field and doesn't do anything, because that's literally what Carbink does.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to how we can use Superior, how we can use it. It's one of the Pokemon I'm interested in coming back, and obviously the buff with the Stellar Terra. It's pretty neat. And I think that Zoroark, other than team building, it's not hard to prep into. It just really makes it really frustrating in game.
In the match,
not particularly because it's it can get Icy Wind, which is nice speed control, but also you're always scared to click Fake Out because your Fake Out could just do nothing. So.
And it's just got a great typing too. Normal Ghost is really, really fun with the immunities that it's got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, like we said before, with the Oricorio next to it with a Dancer, works pretty well. Even if you don't do it, whenever I had that combo, I don't think I ever actually even danced next to Oricorio, but it's just the threat of it. They pair really nicely together.
Another thing that's really fun with Oricorio is that you can actually just Specs it, and then you can just click your Ghost type Revelation Dance, and then you Terra, and a Revelation Dance matches your primary typing. So it's like it's like being able to change up moves while you're choice specs, which is really fun. And that's something that I used to do with Sylveon back when Sylveon in the meta, because Terra Blast is actually 1 base point stronger than Moonblast. It becomes 96 base power with the Pixelate boost. And then you Terra Ground, and Fairy Ground is perfect offensive coverage. So they send in a Steel type or a Poison type to resist your Terra Blast that you're choice specs into. Now you're hitting them with a Ground type move, and they just die. It's really fun.
Yep.
And Toxtricity, there's 2 ghosts on this team, so you can actually just Boom Burst next to both of them, which is really cool. It's got Shift Gear to set up with Volcarona Redirection. You could just Specs it, you could Scarf it, you can do whatever. Yeah, lots of fun stuff on this team. I believe last night, I think Elm or somebody said this feels like a New Balance, whereas my team feels like sort of classic balance, which is fun, because New Balance is the sort of Chi-Yu, Amoonguss, Gyarados core. This feels like that with, Volcarona sort of filling the role of both Chi-Yu and Amoonguss in one. And then there's Gyarados on here. And then Urshifu is just offensive and good. And pretty physically bulky too. Metagross is pretty bulky. Regieleki provides some speed and some support. And damage too. Yeah, it's just a good team.
I don't have anything else to say about that one. So next up, Crystal Croconaw.
This is maybe the funniest team ever, because it was entirely drafted at random by choice, unlike Oryx's team.
Decided at the start of the draft, once he found out that you could do just pick random. This was his goal. The entire draft was going to just be randomly selected, with the exception of one silly little B tier called Smeargle.
So basically, it was Landorus. This was the team that they sniped Palafin for me completely randomly. And then I messaged him in the DMs, and I'm like, "Hey, do you want to trade Palafin?" And he's like, "Yeah, if you randomize one of your A tiers, I'll trade whatever you get for Palafin." So I randomized. I got the Baxcalibur, and then we traded Palafin for Baxcalibur, which actually helped because at the time he had 3 water types because he got Palafin, Primarina, and Milotic. So he traded Palafin for Baxcalibur, got him a Fairy and an Ice type, neither of which he had, and then he swapped Smeargle. The one Pokemon that he chose was Smeargle over Milotic, which somehow fits the theme of the team even better than Milotic did because Smeargle is like the epitome of random in a Pokemon because it can do anything. But Landorus, Bax, Ogerpon, Primarina, all amazing Pokemon. The big thing that we've pointed out last night when we were talking with Elm and some of the other people from the Draft League, this team is hurt by its lack of speed control. You have Corviknight, Shiftry, and Smeargle to set Tailwind. Rotom gets Electroweb now, which is fun, but you'd really like some sort of trick. Oh, Dunsparce can set Tailwind too, I forgot. But you'd really like some sort of Trick Room also, because Primarina, and then your F tiers are pretty slow. Rotom can, work wherever. It's got an okay speed tier.
Corviknight is pretty slow as well.
But you just don't have any priority Tailwind, which Landorus, Baxcalibur, and Ogerpon all really love. I expect to see probably a lot of maybe Dragon Dance Baxcalibur with Follow Me Ogerpon, maybe. But they both share fighting weaknesses. But then I guess you have Landorus and Primarina to help with that. I don't know. It's very good for being completely random, I will say. But I think it is hurt a little bit by its lack of speed control. But there's a lot of strong ones on it, so we'll see.
It's also pretty Ice Weak, unfortunately. So you have the Prim.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Rock doesn't resist ice. That's right.
No.
Yeah. And Rotom,
it feels like it should.
And there's no. Primarina is the only ice resist on the team, except
and Veluza.
Well, Shiftry is Wind. Oh yeah, I forgot Veluza as a Pokemon. Shiftry is fun because you have Wind Rider now, which is actually a fun buff for it. You're now weak to Icy Wind, to Heat Wave, to Hurricane. That's just 3 moves that you're weak to, no longer weak to.
Yeah.
It's like Bulletproof sort of, which is fun because it's just random moves that people forget about, and then they just can't hit you with it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Selden does, but I mean it's a random team. I don't have too much more to say about it. It's funny in concept, funny in execution. I don't know how effective it'll be, unfortunately.
Yep. Oh yeah, Veluza can also set up next to Follow Me Ogerpon. That's also another thing to keep in mind.
That requires you to use Veluza, unfortunately. So, all right. We'll go next. I don't want to talk about Veluza anymore. Might get this video taken down. Alright, next up we got the Colorado Chewtle.
Oh, it might. Okay. This team I was very confused about until the last pick. Because they started with Sandy Shocks. I saw Sandy Shocks pick first, and I said, was that a random pick? What was that? And then they got Regidrago, Rotom Wash, Registeel, Espathra, basically down the line. Then at the very end, I think right before their F tiers, they went back and got Chi-Yu, and I'm like, oh, I see what this team is now. It's just a lot of very strong special attackers with Chi-Yu on the team, which is something that I thought about for the very first draft that we did. I didn't end up getting. Well, no, Chi-Yu wasn't legal in the first draft, I don't think, but second draft we did. I like it. I like it a decent amount. This was one of the teams that we were talking about with meme picks for the F tiers. Charjabug technically does provide some utility, but Chewtle is just a mascot pick, and it's not really going to get brought. I also don't love Alcremie in D, but I guess the team didn't have a fairy type. But I would honestly take Granbull over Alcremie for Intimidate.
I don't know about that one.
I guess you have Tauros for Intimidate, so I guess Alcremie's okay. I don't like Decorate. I think if Decorate had priority, I might like it, but I don't like it being
you have
to be slower than Alcremie. But Sandy Shock's Espathra, I mean, we've all seen what that can do. Chi-Yu plus all these special attackers is really good. Registeel sort of provides some defensive utility on the team that it otherwise is really frail, aside from I guess Rotom. and Tauros. Illumizes Prankster Tailwind to be next to all of those, specifically Regidrago, but pretty much every Pokemon except Registeel on this team likes Tailwind. It's just good Pokemon, and it's just, this is a team that I could see myself picking, the first like 6 Pokemon or 7 Pokemon. I think it's good. It hits a lot of the types that you want. You do double up on Electric, and I think it's just Electric, yeah. Well, actually triple up, but I'm not really counting Charjabug. Oh, and 2 fire types as well. Actually a decent amount of ground weakness. Actually a big ground weakness now that I'm looking at it. Your only immunity is Rotom, and Illumise is a resist.
But it's not
that
really,
doesn't really count.
It's
Illumise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Illumise. So yeah, this is sort of, I think, probably the most explosive hyper offense team that we have in the league. Actually, there's been a surprising amount of balance and not much hyper offense. So I could see this team sort of just blitzing teams that are unprepared for it. But if you do prepare for it, I feel like you can, and if you manage to get them into the long game, obviously you'd have to deal with that Registeel, preventing it from setting up iron defenses. But I think you could probably whittle this team down in the long run if you prepare for it and also play correctly, because hyper offense, if you make one mistake, you're just done.
Yeah, and this team is also like kind of one light screen away from from just an instant loss, and it has Tauros for the Raging Bull to stop that, but it's still hard.
Does Illumise get defog?
I don't know.
Let's find out. No, okay, no defog on Illumise. There's definitely Brick Break on probably Registeel, and Illumise gets Brick Break. Let's see if Registeel gets it. Yes, Registeel gets Brick Break too. So like there are ways to remove the screens, but yeah, like you said, with the team being so special, light screen is a big problem for it.
Yep. I don't really have
anything else.
Too much. I guess shout out the Chi-Yu and Espathra, and something else that Elvis said in call yesterday, that Registeel is the glue that kind of like pulls the team together with its bulk and typing. However, I find that that's kind of a detriment, because Registeel is often a do-nothing it's a all my friends are dead Pokemon. It can be. Like you can Iron Fist body press, but like it doesn't act like not exerting much pressure immediately. Yeah. And with the rest of the team, which is doing that, it's like, oh yeah, you could just sit there. It's like, oh, you might be on the field at the very end with at +6 or whatever. But then you're probably playing a like 2 or 3v1 at that point. So,
but I mean, I definitely think it all comes down to how it's played. Because like basically with your hyper offense, the goal of that is to remove the Pokemon that can break Registeel. Or that Registeel can't kill. Like if there's a Ghost type, because Ghost types is the biggest problem for Registeel. Yeah. Because like even if you have like let's just say your set is like Iron Head, Body Press, Iron Defense, Protect. Like a Ghost type, you don't have very good attack stats, so you're not damaging Ghost types. Like even I've played them in actual VGC. I always just Terra Ghost my Chien-Pao, and it takes 3 heavy slams for Registeel to kill Chien-Pao, which let me Sacred Sword it 3 times. Which kill it. But like the goal of your Chi-Yu and whatever else is to remove those Pokemon that Registeel can't beat in the end game. So it really does come down to is your hyper offense going to burst through your opponent's team and take out the stuff that beats Registeel in the end game? And like that's how this is going back to last season. I helped Rusty's with one of his teams where he was versus what's it called? The freaking Chocolates team, the Sunny Coast Salazales. And I said, yeah, your end game is Iron Defense Corviknight, and basically just use your like hyper offense lead to blitz through, the Chi-Yu, because that team had Chi-Yu at the time. Get rid of the Chi-Yu, get rid of whatever else, and then Corviknight wins the end game. And then basically it just ended up that Rusty's was not able to break the offensive Pokemon, and then Corviknight didn't win the end game. But I think this team is very similar in that regard. Just break your opponent's Pokemon that threaten Registeel with your hyper offense, and then Registeel wins the end game. But it comes down to how the games are played and how both players team build and stuff.
Yep. Alright. I don't have anything else about this one. We'll move on.
Yeah.
Next we got Spring with the Kilahito Electrodes. I like this team. At first, I wasn't a big fan. I saw the Roaring Moon and Iron Jugulis. They don't really complement each other too well, and I don't really like the Sun mode too much. But the more I looked at it, I am more down with the with both Moon and Jugulis, because you would never bring both at the same time. And like we said earlier about the opportunity cost, it makes it like just teching fairy type moves against this team is pretty good. Because like
then it also helps with Quackquavel.
Yeah, super effective. And a lot of
and like with Roaring Moon, one Dazzling Gleam is all you need to take it out, which means that Amoonguss isn't even gonna like save it with redirection. And I've talked to Spring today, and I think he is thinking about switching out Jugulis and switching some stuff around. I'm not gonna say what, just in case he doesn't end up doing it. But I mean, Fluttermane, everybody knows that it's an amazing Pokemon. I don't think there's any denying it. Amoonguss also really good. Even in draft, like it definitely gets worse in draft. Like you're playing Amoonguss, throw safety goggles somewhere,
or Terragrass.
Throw a Terragrass somewhere, throw a Lumberry somewhere. But then that also means that you're throwing safety goggles on your defensive Pokemon. Now you aren't able to hold an Assault Vest, which doesn't help. Like it makes you worse in the Fluttermane, or you're not able to hold like. I don't even know what else you'd want for this team, since there's not much Intimidate. There is an Intimidator in Torracat, but I'm not sure. This team is the one with Florges, which I really wanted for my team, but I mean it does make sense here. There's 3 Paradox Pokemon. They can all hold Booster Energy. You can pass them a Choice Specs for Fluttermane, a Life Orb for the other 2, or even like whatever. Like it's versatile. You can do whatever you want. Spring loves Quackquavel, and I do think it's good here since this team doesn't have either a Fighting type or a Water type. Electivire does provide Follow Me now. I forgot about that. It's Follow Me, and I don't really like. I understand the reasoning behind Electabuzz in B tier, but I don't think it belonged in B tier. I think it's just way worse than everything else in B tier. So somehow that makes Electivire good value in C tier. Which is crazy that Electivire is in C and Electabuzz is in B. Like I get that Electabuzz is faster and it's technically bulkier, but like no item and less offense. I don't know.
Yeah,
and also probably worse ability.
Yes.
Because Electabuzz has Static, which only works 33% of the time, or 30% of the time. Electivire is always immune to electric moves, which is fun, because you can even Terra Water, Terra Flying, get rid of your ground weakness, and then still be immune to electric, which is really cool. And you can also, because like unfortunately Motor Drive doesn't work like Lightning Rod, it doesn't move the electric moves into you. But you have Follow Me, you can Follow Me next to that Jugulis, next to that Quackquavel, take the electric type moves that they were supposed to take, and then get a speed boost from it. This team is really fast with all 3 Paradox ones, essentially having a free Choice Scarf if they want it. Hang on, I need to mute the Discord server for a little bit. Oh! This team just wavered Iron Jugulis for Gallade. Okay. So now that's a Gallade in that slot.
Already outdated. But I do like that.
Like literally as we're talking about it, that's crazy. So as I was saying, the team is pretty fast with Fluttermane and Roaring Moon now. Ninetales hits 100, Quackquavel's pretty fast if it gets the Aqua Step up. Torracat's not slow, it's got 90 speed. So this team, like you'd think, oh, let's just set Trick Room versus it and just underspeed it. But Amoonguss is like really good because I love Amoonguss on fast teams because you are just slower than most Trick Room Pokemon. You can either sleep the setter to prevent Trick Room from going up, or you can just let them set up Trick Room, and now you're slower than all of their Trick Room Pokemon, and then you can put them to sleep in Trick Room before they can move, which is really good. I love Amoonguss on fast teams, and I usually, if I have a team that's weak to Trick Room, and I don't feel like doing Trick Room in Prison, which in actual VGC I don't love doing, in Draft it's fine, I just throw an Amoonguss on there, and then it just kind of patches up that weakness. It's a little bit worse now that Psychic Spam exists again, which it didn't for a couple blessed months where we could play without... Well, I guess it didn't... We had Armor Rouge, but it got worse and worse the more formats, and now Expanding Force is a TM.
Yep.
But who knows? Terra Dark Amoonguss still exists, and can threaten those teams quite a bit.
Yep, I like this team a lot. I don't really like Bastiodon. And I don't. Torcat's funny. And it's a decent value for G tier, but I don't think it's actually that good, unfortunately.
One thing that I was talking to Spring about is that, like we all said yet last night, this team has a bit of a ground weakness, and unfortunately, losing Iron Jugulus actually doesn't help that weakness a lot. Let's see if Spring has made any other waivers.
Doesn't look like
Nothing yet. Yeah, so losing your flying type actually doesn't help that much. So I'm curious to see what else he does. Obviously, Roaring Moon likes to Terra flying, so that can help. But now that you've lost Jugulus, you have no ground resist. So we'll have to see what happens there. Or no ground immunity. Or even a ground resist, actually, also.
Yeah, no ground. Because the grass type's Amoonguss, and that's poison. So.
Yeah. And Spring was also talking about getting Electrode Hisui for the mascot pick. But that helps offensively, but it doesn't do much defensively for ground types.
Yep.
Alright, you ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on. This video's getting kind of long already, honestly.
Yeah, we
have a lot to say.
Lot.
I think that it's worth it, though. I think we have the more in-depth analysis. Nice. Alright, we got the eepy Esper coming up. And
honestly, I like this team quite a bit. It reminds me of like a 2015 team, and I love 2015, so that's fun. You got Cresselia Heatran, which is really cool, just super bulky. You have Rillaboom for Fake Out and also Sustain on the Heatran, and also reducing the power of Earthquake, which is really good. Because like there isn't Follow Me on this team anywhere, but the Cresselia does still threaten Ally Switch, which like you might be hesitant to run, high horsepower to hit the Heatran. So I guess seeing Rillaboom there, you would still run high horsepower, but you basically have to get the 50/50s right because you don't want to run Earthquake in grassy terrain to hit the Heatran. Azumarill and Kommo-o, I said last night, they both would like a Follow Me Pokemon to help them set up, but you've got Fake Out from both Rillaboom and Meowstic. You've got Ally Switch from Cresselia. You've also got Lunar Blessing, I think is the move, the one that heals both of them.
Yeah.
So like you can Belly Drum, eat Citrus Berry, then Lunar Blessing, and now you're essentially full health. And you'll obviously take a hit on that turn, but as long as it doesn't do more than 75%, you're pretty good. Also, Rillaboom, another thing that it does is removes Psychic Terrain, which helps Azumarill a lot, and Meowstic, because they both like spamming Priority. If you are into the one team that has not Esper, Indeedee, you can use Rillaboom to remove the Psychic Terrain, and now you can use your Priority freely. This team hits a lot of the types that I like to see. It's got Intimidate, it's got Driftblim, which is fun with Grassy Terrain, Grassy Surge, with a Grassy Seed. And then you've now got Tailwind, and then you have Trick Room from Crest. The one thing is, like, I don't really see what Muck is doing. But the F tiers were so bad. Like, literally, the F tier was the worst.
There's a reason they're F tier and not E tier.
Yeah. So it's like I can't shit on Muck that much. I do like Cryogonal like a lot. I think Cryogonal's pretty good for an F tier. I like this team a lot.
I am less sold on it because if you don't get the setup, the damage is not really there. You have Heatran, which is good damage, but everything else is kind of middling. Like,
and even Heatran, you're clicking Heat Wave a lot of the time, which is not that strong because when it's spread. And then a Flash Cannon's okay, but Earth Power's also not stab. So Heatran doesn't do like amazing damage. Yeah,
you need to like overheat, and you can only do that once really. And so I do like this team a decent amount. At first I thought it was going to be like a heavier Trick Room team because they drafted Crest first. And it's not. It has a small Trick Room mode with Crest, and Heatran can work, but Azu and Belly Bolt especially.
Muck too, I think, is probably the idea, was to take
but then you have to use Muck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's decent, but if you come up against like a really strong, like a team that hits particularly hard that can break through the defense, it can be on the back foot a lot. And I think playing from behind, this team does not play from behind very well. That's my issue. But it depends on how you want to play it. And it's not a team that I would play, so I'm like probably rating it lower than it should be. But
yeah, this looks like something that I could play. I don't know. If I was to play this, I would want Follow Me or Rage Powder somewhere on the team. But there's not that. But I don't know. It's a solid team, and it's like the theme of balance, because this is pretty much balance. Like it comes down to how both players play and how both players build. I think it has the tools that like any sort of balanced team needs, and it just comes to who plays better, who builds better.
Yep. All right. Next up, we got Vibin Derp. Don't really know what that team name means, but here it is.
I love the logo. That's such a good logo that Spring made. That's so awesome.
Yes.
This is probably the hardest Trick Room team that we have in the league.
Yeah. I don't like it very much.
I don't understand it. Yeah. Like Iron Valiant, like I guess is there to provide the speed, like outside of the Trick Room mode, but it just really suffers inside the Trick Room mode. And Porygon 2 and Dusclops are the two Trick Room setters that you don't have an item on. So like you don't get to hold a Mental Herb, you don't get to hold a Covert Cloak, you don't get to hold a Lumberry. Like you're not. It's the Trick Room setters that you can't reliably get Trick Room up with, and you like I think Oryx said that you have Magmar to redirect away all that stuff from Porygon 2, but then you're wasting your first turn of Trick Room with Porygon 2 and Magmar on the field, which aren't doing anything. And even then, isn't Magmar faster than Magmortar? So like you'd rather just have Magmortar on this team, because Magmortar's 83 and Magmar should be 93. Yeah, Magmar's faster, so like you should just have Magmortar, I think. Like Arboliva's a decent Trick Room attacker. Araquanid's a very good Trick Room attacker. Raging Bolt's a great attacker. I don't like Stonjourner, but I see like that it's there to power up those other strong Pokemon. Bruxish is there to prevent priority. I don't love Clodsire or Mightyena, but I guess Mightyena at least provides Intimidate.
Yeah, it's like they took all the makings of a good team, and they got slightly worse versions of every job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll see what this team ends up doing. I think Iron Valiant is not doing much for the team. I feel like, because I understand you don't want to go hard Trick Room in draft, because then your opponent will prep completely into your Trick Room. But like this team really struggles outside of Trick Room to do sort of much of anything. Like Iron Valiant's good. Raging Bolt is pretty good with priority and just being bulky. I guess Porygon 2 can work outside just as a bulky sort of attacker. Another thing about Porygon 2 is that download, you can EV your Pokemon so that it never gets a special attack boost. So download is so much worse in draft than it is in real VGC. So you, depending on what type of team, because there's some teams that you can't EV download to give you the attack boost. If you basically have huge, like if Blissey's on the field at all. No, it's the other way around, my bad. If something like that has a huge defense stat with low special defenses on the field, like a Donphan or something. Yeah, Skarmory, yeah. But like I was able to make it so that Excadrill plus Gigalith gave it an attack boost because I put a shit ton of EVs into Gigalith's special attack or special defense. So I think like unless you have an insanely min-max Pokemon, it wouldn't really ever get the special attack boost. So it's doing so much less damage than it would in real VGC.
Yeah. And this I said yesterday in the call, this is a Trick Room team that does not have a way to guarantee its own Trick Room setup. Because you have the
like
Magmar,
aside from Magmar, like we said, but you're wasting a turn of just complete passivity while you switch out and switch around.
Yep. It makes positioning. Like, this team cannot position itself very well, unfortunately. It's if you get the the setup off and you have your 3 turns of Trick Room left, you basically have to win in those 3 turns. And it's just not that feasible.
Yeah, or you just
you don't have a way to get it like up the second time.
Well, I could see Porygon 2 like you just lead Porygon 2 plus like some attacker or something, and then like either you get the Trick Room up, or they like put their resources into stopping your Porygon 2, and then you get like one attack pretty much free with your attacker. But then you don't have Trick Room for the next turn. So and like even then the attackers don't do like they're not really strong enough to get one-shot knockouts. Like Arboliva is pretty strong, but like it's not gonna pick. It's like gonna chip stuff and then just outlive them.
Yeah,
which is
and
not really how you want to play Trick Room.
It also often wants to like throat spray, which that first hit is not going to do very much. It's yeah. I don't know. I'm not a big fan.
Araquanid is very, very explosive. Araquanid can definitely get one shots with Wave Crash now that it has that. But I don't know. We'll see what they do. It's got Araquanid also has Wide Guard, which is fun. The team is like not weak to spread, but you know there's a couple ground weaks. So like Earthquake hits this team pretty decently. Wide Guard helps with that. I guess Dazzling Gleam if you don't have a better option to hit like Valiant with, like on something like what's coming up, like the what's that one called? Hatterene. It doesn't get a single target fairy move, so you probably have, other than I guess you have Expanding Force too. But Wide Guard's good into both of those, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Yeah. I don't love it, but I can see it performing okay.
Yep. Alright. Next up, we got the Philadelphia Charjabugs in the most convoluted logo ever.
I love the Charjabug on the logo. It's so cute.
It's the bus.
So yeah, this is Elm's team. We've talked about Elm because he was in the call with us last night when we were sort of just going over all these teams. I like it a decent amount. I think I don't like Regirock on the team. He has a vision for it, and I don't quite see it, but we'll see what happens.
I see the vision, and I think, unfortunately, the vision is not good. I fear.
Elm said, I don't think Glastrier is very good either, but Elm said he wanted to use Glastrier, so I can't knock that. And I do see that it works on Trick Room. I just feel like a lot of the time you just really want to Terra your Glastrier, and then it eats up your Terra, which like Annihilate loves Terra. Hatterene likes Terra quite a bit. Regirock probably also really wants to Terra because it has such a shit typing for a defensive Pokemon.
And Ogerpon really wants an attack boost with Terra.
But I do like what was Elm saying yesterday? Like you have the two Follow Me Pokemon, so it's like one of them goes down and then you just keep Follow Meing with the other one. Like that can happen. There's the second shittiest Perish mode after Nens with Altaria Vaporeon.
No, this actually might be worse.
I actually think so too, because you have to click Whirlpool and Fire Spin, which are only 85% accurate. So it's like you're not even guaranteed to get them up.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, there's Indeedee Female and Hatterene. That's just really strong. There's Annihilate plus Sneasel. That's also really strong. There's like the Indeedee Hatterene can also set Trick Room, which enables Glastrier and sort of Regirock. And then Sceptile's got, Shed Tail. It can also do Unburden stuff in the Psychic terrain.
Seed. Yeah.
And Ogerpon can be Follow Me, or it could just be straight offensive. This team's got a lot of modes, and that is what really helps it, I think. I don't think it's got, it's definitely not a one-trick pony.
But also, a lot of the modes don't really work well together, which is the unfortunate part of having a lot of
Annihilate
different modes.
Does not like Trick Room very much. It doesn't mind the Psychic Terrain, actually. The Psychic Terrain kind of helps it, unless you're against a Psychic type. But you can like run Psychic Seed on even like some of your physically bulky Pokemon, like Annihilate and Regirock could run that Psychic Seed if you're not planning on Unburden. And then that sort of patches up Regirock's low special defense, and it just makes Annihilate holding an Assault Vest for free while it can still bulk up, which is really cool. Or even Glastrier. Make Glastrier super bulky. Or Vaporeon doesn't need the Psychic Seed. It's got good enough SPDF. Vaporeon gets Calm Mind. It gets Flip Turn. It gets Scald again. All very fun stuff. And it's a Water Immunity, which helps the Regirock and the Ogerpon. I don't know. I don't love Cramorant, but like we said about D-Tiers, D-Tier is really bad, so... Does Cramorant get Tailwind? Maybe that at least helps.
It does, but it's still not very good, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all I have to say. This is a good team. I like it a decent amount.
It feels a little like it's. I guess something I said yesterday is that the difference between a gimmick and a legitimate strategy is whether or not it works. And this feels like a lot of gimmicks, but if they work, then I take it back.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got freaking Chocolate and Sunny Coast Salazales. I'll also have his YouTube channel linked in the description.
Oh yeah.
He makes great
Actually,
videos.
does anyone
As well
else
as Spring.
make? Yes, Spring. Yeah, and Oryx too makes videos.
But yeah, this one I do not see the vision. At least with some of the other teams, I've seen the vision and just not liked
Think it's
it.
a bad vision.
Yeah. This team, I don't even see the vision. So maybe that's where I'm wrong. But
I
wow.
don't. I know. Freaking Chocolate likes Photograph, and that's cool. I just don't see what Iron Hands like does. Like, so first of all, Iron Hands, I see that it's like the premier Trick Room Pokemon, along with like Mudsdale and maybe Emboar. But like, you got that Trick Room mode. What is Thundurus doing then? And then like also like what is like I guess Mousehold is for redirection outside of Trick Room, but like then what is Comfey doing? Comfey does not work on this team. I don't think. I guess it provides healing. It's not really there to proc weakness policies. It's there to keep like Iron Hands and Okie Dokie alive. I don't know.
Mousehold can also beat up Mudsdale.
Yeah, I said that last night. Yeah. That's fun. I don't know. I don't quite see it. It's very psychic weak.
I like the Luminion for Storm Drain, but the team doesn't really like actually need it that much.
It's not that water weak. Yeah, you've got Mudsdale and Emboar, but like, is it really worth bringing 3 like low tiers just to like make a core there?
Yeah.
There's no grass type on the team. There's 2 electric flying types on the team. I don't know what Rotom Fan is doing when you already have Thundurus. There's 3 fighting types.
It's a weird one.
It's weird, yeah. I mean, I do see that it's got a Trick Room mode. I think it will have an easier time setting up Trick Room compared to the other team because you have Fake Out support on the team. You have priority protection. You can hold an item on Frigoraph, so you can hold like a Mental Herb. Or if you see that they're only pranks, like if they have like Prankster Taunt, you run Armor Tail plus some other item. If you see that they've got Spore, like versus Spring's team, you can just run Sap Sipper, and now you can't be spored under Trick Room.
Yep. Yeah, it's ironic that this team, the other Trick Room team, can't set it up very well, but once it does get set up, it's really good. This one has a fantastic time setting up Trick Room, but then it doesn't have a very good.
It's not that slow.
Inside of it.
It really is just Iron Hands under the Trick Room. And I guess Mudsdale's slow, but Mudsdale is sort of bulky, not really offensive.
It hits pretty hard with high horsepower, I will say. It's alright.
I guess Thundurus gets Swagger, which is fun because you can self-swagger your Mudsdale and boost it up. Hypno is also another Trick Room setter. I believe Hypno gets Inner Focus. I think you can... Let me look. I actually don't know what Hypno's abilities are. I know it gets Insomnia and Inner Focus, yeah. So those are 2 good abilities on a Trick Room setter, because you can't be faked out, or you can't be slept, which are 2 ways that people like to use to stop Trick Room from going up.
Yep.
I just think that, like, really aside from Iron Hands, Mudsdale, Emboar, there's not a lot of Pokemon that love being inside Trick Room. Like, even Okidogi, I think, is too fast for Trick Room.
Yeah, it's 85. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much more to say, because I'm not... This is not my favorite team in the world, but if I am wrong, and freaking Chocolate has like some great strats that I just can't see right yet, then props to him, because he has found some diamonds in the rough in that case. But as far as I think,
and he was also was late for the draft too. So Iron Hands was just a random pick, so like he kind of had to go off. Maybe he's just not accustomed to building Trick Room. I know he likes Frigoraph because he used it last season, but I don't know.
He's more as an anti-Trick Room mon.
But yeah, there's we'll see what he does.
Yep. All right, next up we got my team. Almost I think unanimously voted as the best team in the league. Not to flex my own team building skill, but I do think I drafted a really strong team. I'm very happy with it. I initially, my thought process was I just really wanted to try Perish Trap in draft. I think it's a really unique strategy, and I think it's really hard to play against, which is, and I think I just want to learn it. I have never really done Perish Trap before, and I thought this would be a great time to do it, with like stakes are kind of lower as opposed to an actual tournament. And then, so my first 2 picks were, Ursaluna and
Blood Moon, yeah.
And because I was like, okay, this one at least they won't see the Perish Trap as coming like, as well. It's like this kind of just looks like a Trick Room core, and it is. It is still done. It is. And more of an anti. Like I can reverse the Trick Room, or I can abuse it while Blood Moon's up. And then I also wanted the raid mode with Politoed Ludicolo, because that Politoed has Perish Song. That's the Perish part of the Perish Trap, and Ludicolo has Fake Out to help with the trap, as well as just being like a nice Swift Swim abuser. And like I said, this is only soft Perish Trap. It's really a heavier rain team, if I'm being honest. Because my last two picks were Archaludon and Tornadus. Which, I mean, Archaludon...
At that point, there was no point in them getting sniped, though, because nobody else had taken them. So, like, they were pretty safe. Like, even, like, halfway through the draft, you're like, oh, I can get Tornadus. And then, like, 3/4 way through the draft, you're like, oh, Archaludon's still around. I can get that, too.
It was just...
But I love...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I love the way this team, like, sort of plays right between Rain and Perish Song. And, I mean, obviously, you'd probably run both, because you have to have Politoed. But like Ludicolo, you can run it as a Rain Sweeper, or you can just run it as a Fake Out Pokemon that's bulky with like Assault Vest on the Perish Trap mode. Like you set this Perish Song, got the Tell, you protect, you switch Politoed for Ludicolo, it lives whatever is coming into that slot. Then you Fake Out the bigger threat, got the Tell lives another turn. Then you can do whatever, you know. Let's see if Ludicolo gets Flip Turn. That's something I'm actually interested about. I don't think it will, but let's find out. Ludicolo, does it get Flip Turn? No Flip Turn on Ludicolo. What about Politoed?
I
really doubt Politoed gets it. No Flip Turn on either one.
I was concerned with the,
but I was just curious.
pivoting.
But I also love Overquill, because Overquill, I've used it on a team that didn't have Rain, and I just used it as Intimidate pretty much every week. But here you can run Swift Swim as a sweeper, or you can run Intimidate, which really helps the Gothitelle stay alive enough to trap stuff.
Yes.
Archaludon is really bulky. And I love that. I really like it in draft, especially because you can run Stamina. And if there's a redirection team that you're worried about, you just run Stalwart, and then you can just hit around the redirection. Like there's 2 Ogerpon teams. There's a Clefairy team. There's an Amoonguss team. I feel like there's a Mousehold team. Yeah, there's tons of stuff. Even against the Mousehold team, if you predict offensive, you can still run Stamina and switch it in on Pop Bomb and get boosted up that way, which is really fun.
Yep.
Cyclizar is super fun on Perish Trap, because you can switch Gothitelle and then Shed Tail back into it, and now it's behind a sub. And then your opponents haven't had a chance to switch out yet. Miss Magius is a secondary setter. This team is just so versatile, and the thing about there's teams that are versatile, but they just aren't good at what they do. This team is versatile and it's good at all its modes, because a lot of the time there's a team that'll have like a half-assed like weather mode, which we're about to see a little bit of spoilers. There's like a weather setter and then some like F tier like Swift Swimmers or Slush Rushers or whatever. Like this team has a good weather mode, and if this was just a rain team, it would be good. And if it was just a Perish Trap team, it would probably not be amazing, but it would be usable. But the fact that it has both, and it can do both together, like you can even switch between game 1 and game 2, going Rain Sweep to Perish Trap and then back. Like it's just so versatile, and it flows so well into both modes.
It also has the capacity
to be really hard to play into.
Just go like Tailwind, big guy, like Tailwind with Ursaluna or Archaludon, and just hit hard. Because I didn't watch Tornadus at the start of the draft, but then when it fell to me as the very last pick, I was like, you know what, might as well.
Yeah.
So we get two leagues in a row of Tornadus.
Yep.
And then I want to comment on the Reviv Room and Meteor, the F tiers, because those do kind of look like the most suspect mons. Obviously, they're F tiers. And Meteor, I don't know. I just think its stats are like unique, and it has like so many things it can do. It's not like great, but it has a lot of like just weird things about it. And Rock Flying is a pretty unique type thing.
Is it? It gets Meteor Beam, right?
Yeah,
That's
it
fun.
does. And
also, another thing about Shields Down
and Filter.
I don't think people really know what Shields Down does, because it also that prevents you from being statused. I'm not sure about like Taunt and Confusion and stuff like that, but I don't think you can be burned or selected and stuff when you have your shield up, which is interesting. Yeah, I mean it gets Shell Smash, which is really good. Yeah, it's a really fun Pokemon. And Revavroom just has good typing, good stats, good abilities for an F tier.
You can just be Click and Rock Slide, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty fast, too, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
It zooms around. Yeah,
And it can work in Trick Room, too, with Spin Out. You spin out Trick Room, and now it's slow, and now you can just keep spinning out.
Yeah.
Oh, I was talking about Revavroom, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Minior, I mean, is surprisingly fast. Revavroom is kind of that middling speed tier, which is, it can be good, under both Tailwind and Trick Room, which is nice. But yeah,
actually, wait, yeah, Minior is really fast. How fast is it? What are its stats in shield form? Yeah. I can't see the stats. Oh, I can. It's 60 in the shield form, and then it's 120 out of it.
Yep. It's a weird Pokemon that I'm excited to use.
Yeah.
I think it has the capacity to be very silly. A silly, goofy guy. Okay, I don't have too much more to say. It's I don't think I have any like hidden techs or anything on the team. I think it's just really solid.
Your techs are very, very exposed. Everybody kind of knows what your team can do, but it's one of those teams where even that you know what it's doing, like you have to play correctly into it, and even if you have the counters to it, like you may or may not get them off because you can do like other stuff.
Also, I just wanted to
it's just
talk
versatile.
About my logo real quick. So at first I just had a funny bit with I was in call with somebody and we were saying, yeah, Aggron just kind of looks like it's the Chainsaw Man. It's that was the chainsaw. I was like, you know what, it is Chainsaw. And then I said, ooh. And then we just got on the topic of chainsaws, and we were talking about like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then Lollipop Chainsaw, the game, which is what the rest of the logo is based on. And it's just a really stupid tangent that I think ended up with a fun logo. So I like it a lot.
I didn't even realize Aggron wasn't in the game until just now. I was about to say you should have got it as one of your F tiers. I'm like, oh, it's not even in the game.
I can't. Yep, unfortunately. But yeah. All right, next up we got Seattle Scizors. And I don't want to spoil too much for the team ahead, but you might see a little fish there, a big fish there, and you will not see a little fish next to it. And that is because for the first time in FDL history, Dozo Tatsugiri has not been a pair. It has been sniped.
I think everybody was clowning on you for saying put them both B tier, but like your prophecy came true because you said like we used to have them like S and A tier, and then you're like now taking Tatsugiri in A tier is so shit because now you're stuck with because basically the idea is putting them lower means that the opportunity cost to snipe them is less. So the philosophy is if we put them lower, it's easier for it to get sniped, which makes Dondozo Tatsugiri more risky to take if you're not in last pick. And Icefraud did get a little crazy, being fourth to last. He's like, I feel like I could probably get Dondozo Tatsugiri. Then he takes it, and then there's 6 opportunities for it to get sniped after him.
He was almost correct.
He was almost correct. And we'll get to the Tatsugiri in a little bit. And basically, so I assume his initial plan was Dondozo Tatsugiri since he took Dondozo first pick. And then he took Tinglu second. And then he even messaged the person who took Tatsugiri. He's like, this was already sort of like a pivot. I didn't really even want this. My strategy's kind of changed up a little bit. But I think the team came together okay. This was the team I was talking about where you have kind of a shitty weather mode with Ninetales, Glaceon, Sandslash. But I do see, like, most of the time I think Ninetales just comes on its own as an Aurora Veil setter. For Goldengo, Tinglu, Dondozo, Salamence, that just seems really hard to kill. And also this team just liked having a fairy type. It didn't have one before, and it's pretty good. It just is a pretty bulky team that looks pretty okay. And I know for a fact that Icefraud is a great player, so I'm sure he'll have a lot of success with it. But the team itself doesn't look like amazing to me. It's good, but the thing about this draft league is that there's so many teams in this league that are really good that just a good team doesn't stand out that much to me in terms of Pokemon alone.
Yep. Yeah, I don't love the lower tier picks. I think Greninja and Monkey Dory are great C tiers. I think that's really nice. And I think
I like Thwacky in F a lot, actually. I think because like Rillaboom is S tier, and Thwacky is like it is objectively like a lot worse than Rillaboom. But in F tier, you can't complain too much that you get budget Rillaboom in F tier.
Yep. And I've used Monkey a lot. I think it's really solid. I have used Glaceon before. I think I really like it. I don't think it's that good, but I just like it. You know.
I like Moltres too on this team a lot. Moltres in D is pretty good value. That's just like really good space stats. It
has a
for
lot
D
of
tier.
stats. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's it called? Is Flame Body is also just not a bad ability like to have on a sort of bulky Pokemon. I think that gets Roost, and it also gets a slow it's pretty slow. It's a slow Tailwind too. It does get Roost, which is fun. I could see it running like safety goggles and stuff into some of the like the Amoonguss team, into some of the Steel type teams. Because this team isn't like weak to Steel, but it has a hard time killing them with everything that isn't Ting-Lu. So Moltres really helps that.
Kind of
pretty passive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my problem with this team is that it feels like a lot of its stats are invested in bulk, and like almost none of its stats are invested in offense outside of Golden Go. And it's just you got the two in the middle. And you got three. So basically, you have three special attackers and Salamence, and as your high power mons, and that's all right. But there's not.
Well, I mean, theoretically, you could also just set up Aurora Veil and then click Fissure and Sheer Cold with this team, and then you just outlive stuff.
That is the other win condition, and that's just I hate that. That sucks.
You also you can do funny Blunder Policy Sheer Cold on Ninetales, or Blunder Policy Hypnosis or bullshit like that.
Yeah, you can.
I think it's an alright. That's not even alright. I'd say it's a good team piloted by a really good player, and I think it can see a lot of success just because of that.
Yeah, I'm a little lower on it than you are. I really, I don't think Dozo is a useless B tier, and I know the rest of the league likes it, but on its own,
I think the rest of the league. I do agree with your sentiment. I don't always agree with your sentiments, but I do agree here. I think because what people say is like Dozo has seen success solo, and I can't. That's just an objective fact. But the thing is, there's in the big picture, it's there to counter other Dozos because Dondozo with Unaware is there to counter boosted Dondozo with Unaware, and then unboosted Dondozo and boosted Dondozo when they both have Unaware, they're the same Pokemon, except unboosted Dondozo gets a partner where the other one doesn't. So in that regard, it beats the other Dondozo. So Solo Dozo is there to beat other Dozo. In Draft, there's no other Dozo. You have the only Dozo. So Solo Dozo is a lot worse in this regard.
How many times can we say Dozo in 1 minute?
I think I just said it like 8 or 10 times.
Anyways, that's my thoughts. I mean, I'm glad he got sniped personally. Like, no offense
I
to
hate playing against Dozogiri.
Yeah,
I hate Dozogiri so much. I'm so glad. The first league that I don't have to play against it. I'm so excited.
Same. This is nothing against Ice
Well, actually, no. I didn't have to play against it in the first league. The very first league, I grabbed 3 Fake Outers because I'm like, if I play against Dozogiri, I'm just switching Fake Out every turn, cycling Fake Outs versus it. And then I didn't even play the Dozo that team, and then I just lost to it last league because I didn't respect it enough. Because that's the thing about Dozo, it's so overwhelming, especially in Draft. Like everyone's like, oh, you know what you're playing against. It's like, but Dozo essentially gets like 1,020 EVs because your EVs are doubled in anything except HP. So like it can outspeed base like 120 Pokemon if you go max speed Dozo, which is absurdly fast for a base 35 Pokemon.
Yep.
And then like basically that time, because versus you it was fast, it outsped all your shit. And then versus me, I'm like, okay, he's gonna go fast. Let me run like max speed Jolteon, max speed Noivern, and then it went bulky. And now I've got all my EVs into speed, and I'm not hitting hard enough to actually take it out now that it's bulky. It's just so I hate playing against it so much.
We don't have to worry about it because it's not here. All right. And speaking of the not here, let's go to the next team. We got the Washington
Wugtrios. All right, so a little bit of Draft League history for everybody some lore for anybody who doesn't know this. Last season, Nen took Chen Pao first pick. he had 4th pick, and then for his first pick he took Chien-Pao. It went all the way down the line, and then all the way back to the person who was right in front of him, or I guess technically right behind him. And then they took Dragonite, which was what Nen wanted second. Oh, it went like 20,
and that was Ice Fraud.
18 or 20 picks, and that was Ice Fraud. And Ice Fraud took Dragonite, and actually had very good success with solo Dragonite. But Rusty's and Nen are best friends. So Rusty's said, I have the opportunity to snipe the person who sniped my best friend last league. I gotta do it. So Rusty's first pick was Walking Wake, and then the shittiest Pokemon that he could have had in that second slot, it has the exact same typing as Walking Wake, provides nothing for the team that he wants to run, which is Sun. I guess it technically provides Storm Drain for the fire types, but it there's no reason to bring it when Walking Wake does the same thing, or offensively does the same thing. But then he took Tatsugiri. He's like, I should take Torkoal right here, but I gotta avenge my best friend. I'm gonna take Tatsugiri. Which is just like a legendary moment in FDL history.
Yeah. The entire time in call, he was talking like, "Oh, I can't do it. I gotta take Torkoal here. Like Torkoal's, and there's no way Torkoal makes it back to me. I gotta take Torkoal." And then we were like, "Okay, yeah, that's fine. You can take Torkoal. We'll just deal with it." Yeah. And then you see Rusty to type it.
He didn't say anything. He's like, I gotta take Torkoal. And then it says Rusty's has picked Tatsugiri. It was amazing.
It was crazy. Probably the most hype pick of all time.
We literally, I think you could even show it in pull up a screenshot in the video, but everybody was screaming in the chat. They're like, yes! It was amazing.
Yep.
And then the team actually did come together. He did end up getting Torkoal. We got Lilligant, Hisui. Murkrow's really cool because you've got Manual Weather, and you can also set Tailwind for the Walking Wake, and you can also use Haze to deal with, set up Pokemon on opposing teams, and you can also reset your own drops from Walking Wakes, Draco Meteor, or technically Tatsugiri's Draco, or even Ursaluna's Headlong Rush. Or Close Combat too. Bronzong is a good Trick Room setter. This team did need a Steel type, and it's also got some Levitate to remove some ground weakness.
It pairs very nicely.
Yeah, because you can also Earthquake next to it. Ambipump's fun because this team needed Fake Out, and it hits so hard, and it's got Technician Triple Axle is 180 base power or something insane. Rusty's loves Spiritomb because he had it last season, and it's just a pretty good Trick Room setter. It's immune to Fake Out, immune to Prankster Taunt. You can run whatever item. Good typing. The team's not particular. Well, actually, it's a little bit Fairy Weak with. Actually, it's decently Fairy Weak with Walking Wake, Tatsugiri, Lilligant, Murkrow, and Spiritomb. But you've got Bronzong to help. You've got a fire type, and you've got Fungus to hopefully help with all that. And I don't expect that you're bringing Tatsugiri ever, so that also helps.
Yeah.
I think this
team
has
a lot of the teams have 11 or have 8 Pokemon or 9 Pokemon because they can't use their F tiers. This team has 10 Pokemon because they can't use one of the C tiers or B tiers.
B tier,
which is
but Eden Rusty's is in his defense, he does have 2 of the best D tiers, I think, of any team in the league. I think Fungus and Luxray are both really good for D tier.
F tier.
Like I said about F tier, yeah, my bad. Like I said, Thwacky is just budget Rillaboom. Fungus is it's not even that budget Amoonguss. It's a little bit less bulky, but it still does everything pretty much just as good as Amoonguss wants, except for not being able to hold an item. Whereas Thwacky hits significantly less hard than Rillaboom. And it also doesn't get an item. I guess you could technically run a Choice Band or a Miracle Seed, but the Eviolite's pretty nice on Thwacky because it's like AV with no downside.
Yeah.
Fungus doesn't get an item, which hurts when you want to hold a Citrus Berry.
I will say, I think there are some matchups where you might actually bring Tatsugiri. To be honest. It's not often. I think there's probably only 2 in the league. I think you might actually consider Giri, but it's possible. And at the very least, at the very end, at the end of the season, if you're either guaranteed
if you make playoffs,
or if you're already eliminated, say fuck it, we ball, and just go Tatsu. And I think that'd be awesome.
Well, no, if that's what I was saying. If Rusty's makes playoffs, last second waiver, drop Tatsugiri. So then Ice Fraud won't be able to pick it up, and now you have a real B tier. But that's only if Rusty's can make playoffs.
Also Tatsugiri still has a usable special attack. It's 120. That's good.
No, But that's the thing is that like it just kind of fits the exact same role as Walking Wake but slower because I think Walking Wake has 125. Yeah, same typing 125, not hindered by sun. But yeah, it really is if your opponent plans on spamming water types. But there's no really. I guess maybe versus you.
I could see. I could
see
it one of the teams I was actually considering. The Tatsugiri actually is actually real against me. I don't like it.
Versus you of all the teams. Yeah, I think this team is hurt mostly by Tatsugiri, but it was a legendary moment, so that's kind of like if that could be like something to help with fairy types, that helps. But and I mean, Elm put this team a little lower because Elm really just doesn't think Ursulina is good. Like, I do understand that Ursulina has weaknesses, but guess what? All Pokemon have weaknesses. That's, like, the game, right? Like, Ursulina is weak to Intimidate, but there's, like, 4 other special attackers on this team. Maybe not 4. I guess it's kind of just Walking Wake and Torkoal. And Tatsugiri, which is just budget Walking Wake.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I think there's enough... This team has a lot of... This team, like Elm said, it's like sort of like budget your team, and I mean I agree with that. It's got a Trick Room mode, it's got a Weather mode. It does not have a Perish Trap mode, but it doesn't need it. I think this is your team, but I feel like it's more offensive, like a lot. It's hyper offense version of yours, where you're getting like KOs with absurdly strong attack stats instead of Perish Trapping.
All right. Next up, we got the Thunder Waves, and I'm higher on this team than a lot of people. I like it a lot. Even the Chien Pao Arcanine Whimsicott, so good, so versatile. I mean, Chien Pao's not the versatile, but it's really strong. It's so strong. And Arcanine and Whimsicott are two of the most versatile mons in the game. I know a lot. You
can also nobody mentioned it last night, but you can also beat up your Arcanine and go Justified Arcanine too. Nobody mentioned that, but obviously you have Priority Tailwind. You've got E-Speed plus Sword of Ruin. Just good stuff. I think the part that a lot of people fell on, like that said it was like not amazing, was the B tiers in Venusaur Snorlax. Like I see that there's a manual Sun mode for Venusaur.
I think people are getting too hung up on the manual Sun. I actually don't think that's what it's gonna be there for. I think it's gonna be like a like Venusaur. It gets thick fat, right?
No, that's Mega.
No, it's Mega. That's
it's
right.
Chlorophyll. Okay. It's Chlorophyll. Yeah, Chlorophyll.
It only gets 2 abilities, of course. Yeah, that's right. But I think it's just going to be there as like a relatively bulky, just sleep powder. I think it's going to sit, like, just let it sit, let it sleep powder.
It probably works in Trick Room, doesn't it? Oh, it's 80 speed. That's really fast.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the Snorlax is just there for the Trick Room mode.
Yeah.
Because actually, and it does actually threaten it. Because Snorlax is one of those few Pokemon that's like, oh yeah, you do have.
If you let it, yeah. No, yeah.
Some of the Trick Room modes,
anybody who's played VGC 2017 knows how powerful Snorlax is, and they literally nerfed the 50% berries because Snorlax with Gluttony was so absurdly strong with them. Being able to just belly drum and then heal to full, like we talked about Azumarill earlier. Like Azumarill's pretty bulky, but it's essentially got 75% HP, and if you can kill it from 75, it's done. Snorlax, at least in 2017, it was 100% HP. You can never kill Snorlax from 100% HP unless you double, and then it also threatens Protect
now it's
or
83
follow
instead of 75, but it's
which is still strong, but not. They did have to nerf the items because of how powerful it was.
But yes, if you can get it set up under Trick Room, it is just going to sweep through everything.
And you got Hitmontop for Fake Out support and Raichu for Fake Out support, actually.
Yep.
And you have a little like electric terrain mode down at the bottom.
Yeah,
with
it's just Pincurchin Raichu, I think, is the actual.
And Iron Thorns.
Iron Thorns is for the Trick Room mode. I think.
Or both. It could be both.
It won't be. I promise.
Pincurchin works the trick. No, and that's the thing is that I feel like Iron Thorns is really bad, and I think Pincurchin's also pretty bad. I like Raichu with Pincurchin, kind of. Like that helps Pincurchin, but Iron Thorns is not very good.
Yeah, Iron Thorns is bad, but it's same thing with the with Moltres. I think it's very similar to Moltres actually, just without Flame Body. It just has too many stats to be that bad. And it's in D tier. I think it's okay. Yeah, because like Moltres, it also has a 4 times weakness. But you can turn it off with Terra, but you maybe don't want to that often, but you can. It has just a lot of stats. and it works pretty well under Trick Room, which I think this team kind of needed one more Trick Room on. I think it's alright. I do not like they tripled up on Electric, but you probably won't be bringing them all at once anyways.
Yeah.
But I think people.
But then again, they also don't have any. I guess their electric or their ground resist is Whimsicott. Like, I don't like tripling up on Electric when you have like Arcanine as one of your Pokemon that you're probably bringing every week also, and then you don't have any resists. Like, there's no flying type on this team.
Yeah, you do have Venusaur and Slowbro to deal with ground types. You don't have a great way to take ground moves.
But I don't know. I think obviously it's very explosive. Like, I think Chien-Pao Arcanine can just blitz through some teams some weeks.
Yep. And prepping for like both Chien-Pao Arcanine and the Trick Room mode is not easy. It's not. You obviously want like Terra Ghost to deal with the extreme speed, and it also helps with like Body Slam from Snorlax. But if they have like Darkest Lariat, then you're still dead. You know. So I think this team is better than a lot of people are like saying, but it's still not great. All right, that's all I have on that one.
Yeah.
Next up,
Sonic
the last
Slowkings.
pick. So this is my friend Mickey, aka Strudel Cuties, or Strudel Cutie, and this is the Sonic Slowkings. I think this team is quite good, and I think most importantly, is like it is funny with using Regigigas. That's the best thing a team can be. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of it reminds me actually a lot of Nen's team, where it's just sort of like balance with Urshifu, which is just good. You have actually, what was Nen's Tailwind setter? Oh, it was Volcarona. This team, you do have Prankster Tailwind with Volbeat, and you can also do not self swagger. I mean, you could, but you can also do Swagger Mirror on some of your physical attackers, which is fun. Volbeat also gets Taunt, which kind of helps with the Trick Room matchup. Because unfortunately, Volbeat's a lot worse than Illumise, because Illumise gets Charm and Fake Tears, which are so much better than Volbeat's moves, which actually, a Swagger would be the counter of Flatter. I have no idea what Volbeat's equivalent to Fake Tears would be, but I know one of them is Taunt. I don't know what the other one is. Maybe it's Tail Glow. I guess Tail Glow maybe is one of them.
Yeah, I don't know. But on the base 45 special attack, you know.
Yeah, you're not set. Yeah, you'd set that up for like, and then you can have a Taunt Pass, but like that's 2 turns with Volbeat on the field. That shit is not living. You get Light Screen, but not Reflect, I think. Yeah, but Light Screen helps because you have Intimidate. You have Intimidate with Arcanine, and Urshifu has good physical bulk, and actually there's good physical bulk kind of across the board. So Light Screen actually does help this team a lot. Prankster Encore's a huge one. That's really good. And then obviously Tailwind. Sinistcha helps set up like a lot of its setup, just helps sort of keep your guys alive with redirection and hospitality and stuff. And one thing is that like a lot of these, you go.
Elm I know didn't like Sinistcha on the team, but and it was very surprising we said we built around Sinistcha, but I think it's more of just the defense, like the cores. Like the Titans and Mons, not necessarily making the most use out of what's the ability called,
Hospitality.
Yeah, Hospitality. Because I think this team is often needed to use something like Heat Proof more.
Well, I don't even think so. I feel like Sinistcha doesn't even feel like a Pokemon that's like you have to put Sinistcha on a certain type of team. I think Sinistcha can kind of work on like whatever team needs a grass type, because like 25% HP is just always 25% HP. Like a lot of people love to use it with like Belly Drum Pokemon or like Clangor Soul. It's like you don't have to do that. You can just run it on a good bulky offense team, which is like you see Urshifu Rapid Strike. Like a lot of people don't think of it as bulky, but it is decently physically bulky. It doesn't take special hits very well, but you know, if you get chipped by like Rocky Helmet, that can just get healed back up by Hospitality. Arcanine, you know, you're probably running Intimidate most weeks, so you've got Flare Blitz, Garchomp, another thing is that a lot of these Pokemon don't need their abilities to work. Like Arcanine actually likes having its ability turned off once it's on the field, and then because then you can switch Weezing, get a second Intimidate. Garchomp's not really pressed if it doesn't have Rough Skin, Thunderous. If there's no electric types on the field, then you don't need to have Thunder Volt Absorb. So Weezing is pretty good. And then Regigigas obviously likes having its ability turned off. Like that's the obvious synergy there. Also, I could see Misty Search being run. If there's like a team that's Well, I guess there's no Sableye, which helps. Because on a Sableye team, you would want to turn off Prankster, or not turn off Prankster, but prevent your physical guys from getting Will-O-Wisped.
Yes.
But I could see that being run actually for the Psychic Terrain team, maybe. So you can make Expanding Force a single target move, and you can allow priority again. Because you do have some priority moves with Urshifu, Arcanine, and Volbeat even.
Also, notably,
and Berserker Fake Out too.
Weezing is slower than Indeedee. So.
Oh yeah, true. So not the other one though. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you just lead it. Yeah.
And it'll go up second. Yeah, I like to see. Also, notably, the only type it doubles up on is Steel, which is like the best type in the game.
A good type.
Yeah.
And they're also both like D tiers, and they also don't really share many weaknesses except for Fire, because Skarmory's resistant to not resistant, but neutral on fighting and immune to ground, which so they only share Fire.
Yep.
I know that Ice-Cube is one of Strudel's favorite Pokemon, but I don't think Ice-Cube is very good. Like aside from Ice-Cube, I kind of generally like. I mean, I don't like Berserker design-wise, but I do.
It's a good Pokemon. Yeah.
Yeah, I think every Pokemon on this team is pretty good, and they all fit roles that the team needs.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it also just hits like really hard.
I mean, it's holding like a free choice band for its Steel type moves and its partner Steel type moves. So like, Berserker is actually one of the few Steel types that likes being paired with other Steel types, even though Skarmory's not going to be attacking often. It helps.
Yep. Yeah, and just across the board, the team is really strong. I think it's gonna make it a lot easier, make it harder to prep into, because you basically have to have extra bulk that you can't invest into something else. The prankster, if you get the prankster tailwind up, even if Volbeat dies, it's like okay, good. It's off the field now. You can get it in one of your good Pokemon, and actually use the tailwind. It's like. And Garchomp, Thundurus, and Disquake, and that's just like 130 and 140 basic attack stats, which that's just super strong and hard to deal with. Yeah, seems good. I think it is top 4.
And
the minimum top 5.
Another thing is that people were saying that like Arcanine Hisui. No. People were saying Arcanine Hisui they like more than regular Arcanine. And I do agree with that. Like, I see that it's got 4 times weaknesses, but I have prepped into both of them before in draft, and I think Arcanine Hisui is fucking terrifying, because you have to respect that it can head smash you. Like, as a, like, prepping into it, you're like, I have to respect the head smash. But then when you play as it, I'm like, okay, I'm not clicking head smash, because it's only 80% accuracy. But just, like, the fact that you have to respect that it could just go for that head smash and get a KO on, like, even a neutral Pokemon is so scary.
Yep. Yeah. I prefer just clicking Rock Slide, because it is relatively fast and getting
absolutely. And like nice. if I was the one using it, I absolutely would click Rock Slide like 100% of the time. But just the fact that you have to think about it, and you have to like be like, oh, I need a Pokemon that can live this.
Well, all right. I think that about wraps it up. This was the last team. Do you have any final thoughts? I think I could share my tier list. If I want.
Yeah, share that.
Yeah, I'll just this is my personal tier list. A couple things could move around. That's where I stand. Seeing it on screen now, and I swear to God, actually no bias for me and Conix being the top 2. I just think we have very good teams. But yeah, that's
I mean, hey, we wouldn't have drafted them if we didn't think they were good. So.
That's true. Well, I don't know about that one. No, I've drafted some bad teams that I knew were bad before.
I haven't. I think all my teams I've drafted are good. I think I just play like shit with a couple of them. One of them actually.
I will link all the content creators down in the description, and I hope you guys keep watching, and good luck to everybody else in the Draft League.